Welcome to News Trash. We take an extended look at the more interesting happenings from the last 7 days from the world of video games. My name is Rob, and as ever, I have been joined by Prob. Hello there.
Hello. Hello.
How are you?
I am very musical today.
Well, I'm a bit annoyed today.
Oh?
Do you want to know why?
Why?
This dates the video a little bit, but this is recorded on Saturday, before England football match.
Oh.
Do you know what's trending on Twitter?
Is it? Could it be a sport of some kind in which in which 22 men?
I'll just cut you short.
Oh.
This is the world we live in, right? England are playing Ukraine. We might have won, we might have lost. This is recorded before it happens. But trending on Twitter as we record this was Chernobyl because racism. And the world we live in. It just sucks, man. It just sucks.
And why is it the anniversary of Chernobyl or something?
Nope. Because racist jokes.
I don't use Twitter. I'm notorious for being completely oblivious to Twitter. So I'm not even going to bother asking
it's just
what the joke is.
It's just racism.
Yeah.
Because racism. Man.
I'm not even going to bother asking what the joke is. All I will say is that if you're involved in spreading this kind of thing, then you're horrible little maggots. Yeah. Go away.
It's kind of a horrible transition, that, isn't it? Because that kind of is in the video game industry too, isn't it? Lots of people like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can pick this up from being.
You can't. In the minds of quite a few people who play video games and are fans of video games, and quite a few people who are in the press of video games, that actually could be a very good segue to our first story, because we're talking about Sony.
Okay.
And this could go one way, or it could go another way, it could go a third way, it could go in any direction. Me, I prefer to look at this as, I'll explain my stance after we find out what's happened. So, Sony have been they've been in for some pretty bad press lately, especially with the PlayStation store closures. I mean, they have clarified their stance with the PlayStation Portable store closure. You can still buy PlayStation Portable games. You just can't buy, the DLC and stuff like that. You can still buy those from the PS3 and the PS Vita stores.
So that's something.
The problem is that a lot of indie devs have come forward now on Twitter and called out, not by name for a lot of them, but called out Sony's lackluster performance when it comes to indie development. And that's a corner that Sony historically has championed a lot.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of moving parts on this. As far as the accusations as well, there's all sorts of moving parts on that too, is what I meant.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant as well. It's not just from one side. There are all sorts of moving parts. We don't know the full story on a lot of these things, but accusations are flying on Twitter, and one of the things that people are hoping for kind of across the board is that Sony updates its policies with regards to indie developers, which I do agree with. Now, I know Sony has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, especially when you have developers coming forward and saying that they are making more money selling their games on itch.io than they are on PlayStation Network.
No offense to itch.io, but it's awful and about as user-friendly as humanly possible.
Not only that, stuff that's sold on itch.io is DRM free. And so, you have a platform like that. Now, indie devs quite often sell their products on multiple platforms, right?
Yes.
On multiple storefronts. But some of those developers are locked into the PlayStation Network, and they're the ones that I think are getting the most hard done by the current situation.
Yes, just to sort of have a balanced point of view here. Sony are bad at this. £25,000 apparently to get preferential marketing treatment. You have people who are sort of case workers who are unequipped to do this job. However, the sort of discourse behind this is Sony's bad, Sony's awful, Sony's bad, Sony's awful, Xbox destroys Sony. That's not what I'm going to come from. I know you're shaking your hand.
I don't agree with that stance either.
It's the implication in saying stuff like that Xbox aren't doing anything wrong, that the treatment of indie developers on Xbox is fine, that Steam aren't doing anything wrong, that the treatment of indie developers isn't drowned out by shovelware, that Nintendo aren't doing anything wrong. The whole... to cut this story short, from my perspective at least, everybody is treating indie developers poorly. It's just on the sliding scale, Sony is worse. So
at the moment. And the thing is,
it needs
at the moment.
It needs industry-wide readdress of how these storefronts work and how indie games are treated. Just the short version of what I want to say.
The slightly longer version that I want to say is that that's at the moment, okay? And one of the things is, you've mentioned Steam. Historically, Steam have been bad with indie developers.
Oh, yeah.
They have been hidden behind shovelware. But on the flip side, Valve have acknowledged their failings when it comes to indie developers, and they have numerous festivals that go on throughout the year. I mean, we just had the Next Fest, which again was a showcase of indie developers. Sony, I think what's happened with Sony is they've been so focused on AAA games for a long time, for several years now. I think since kind of since around the time the PS4 Pro came out, they've been so focused.
Before that. But yeah, go on.
Was it before that? But I think that's when it became more and more prominent, more obvious that their focus was mainly on AAA games. And I think what's happened is their policies and practices that used to be okay for indie developers have now become defunct. They've now become oppressive.
Yeah, one last comment from me.
Yeah.
People are suggesting that indie games have always been this much of a broader industry. It hasn't been. No. Indie game industry has evolved in an insane amount since what Rob was saying there. Since the PlayStation 3 generation. It's not even recognisable compared to that. So, devil's advocate, their policies could have been written mid-PlayStation 3 generation, and the industry has changed to now.
This is what I'm saying. They probably were written mid-PlayStation 3 generation, and at the time, they were fit for purpose. But now, they're not fit for purpose. And what I think needs to happen is Sony just need to take a step back and say, okay, right, let's re-examine our policies and let's just make it fair, right?
Yeah. The thing that bothers me about this story is the internet hasn't looked at it with a level head.
Yeah, and that, I think, is the key thing. A lot of people have basically overreacted to this and said, Sony bad automatically because Sony have these policies.
And that's where I jump the next story, because that's a story which we could probably talk about in more depth, to be honest.
Yes. Speaking of indie developers, Hideo Kojima.
Well, he technically is indie, yes.
Apparently he has a deal going on with Microsoft. They've signed a letter of intent anyway. That states the two parties intend to work out the details on a publishing agreement for a new Xbox game. This is according to sources familiar with the whole thing.
Yeah. People who love Hideo Kojima tend to be on the PlayStation side of things, so I imagine there's a sense of betrayal from those idiots, let's be honest. Because there's just one box and another box. Don't have your loyalty and your entire personality tied up into one box. It's just ridiculous. But on a more sort of relaxed level, I think it's really, really good for Xbox, because I don't know whether games by Hideo Kojima are appreciated as much in Japan as they are in America and the UK, but if they are, that's a good scalp for them to get, because they are making real strides into the Japanese market, Xbox, and apparently with the Series S, they are doing better than they have done in a very, very long time.
Well, I mean, Kojima is a big scalp to get, but I think what's happened is Kojima's games and his focus on Western audiences has alienated...
I suspected that might be true. I wasn't sure though.
The original Metal Gear games and stuff like that, great, A lot of people still love those games from, both sides of the pond. The problem is, you see this, from Metal Gear Solid onwards, you see this gradual westernization of Kojima's games, and you don't see any real kind of Eastern people in Kojima's games.
That's a very good point, yeah.
Whereas if you look at something like Yakuza, which is absolutely adored in Japan, and adored by people who are in the know here in the West, it's so very, very, very Japanese.
Yes, it is. But this is good for Xbox, because there's a specific audience who love Hideo Kojima. I'm not one of them. He burnt the living hell out of me with Metal Gear Solid 5, where I really don't care anymore. But for a certain demographic who love his stuff, this is fantastic news for Xbox. If it materialises, at least.
Metal Gear 5 was all he was doing was Moby Dick. All the Moby Dick references in that just annoyed me.
And Quiet had to have claws off because reasons. Reasons. Deleting that history. Sorry.
The thing is, the deal's not done. I just want to stress that the deal is not done. This is just an intent to make an agreement. It is part of the negotiation process. It is not a done deal.
I can see it happening though, but it's not done. Yeah.
Whatever Kojima and Microsoft's motives behind signing this deal, you see what I did there? Do you see what I did there?
I don't know, but go on.
Well, whatever their motives are, we'll find out. Speaking of motives, they're making or remaking Dead Space.
Oh man, this is a story I'm a Dead Space fanboy. I mean, if you listen to the show for any sort of amount of time, you know this.
Well, Dead Space 1 and 2, not so much 3.
3 I tolerate, 1 and 2 I adore.
Weirdly enough, though, and I think just to reiterate a point that we've made only on a couple of occasions in the past, you regard Lost Planet 3 as,
as Dead Space 3.
Yeah, as Dead Space 3. And Dead Space 3 as Lost Planet 3.
Yeah, it was a weird situation there. But yeah, I absolutely love Dead Space, everything about it. Just the aura, the style, the way everything was put together, the minimal UI, all of it was just, for me, it was kind of like the perfect game at the perfect time, everything about it.
Yeah.
And EA abandoned it because they tried to milk that cow so hard. There was like comic books, there was spin-off games, there was an animated series, there was an animated movie, there was all sorts. It was just too much too soon. So they burnt out. And, I think they turned the company into, it became Visceral Games. I can't remember the name of the company initially. It became Visceral Games, and they put Visceral Games to work on Battlefield Hardline, which, coming from Dead Space, is kind of like, I beg your pardon.
Yeah. Do you know the sad thing about Dead Space is it could have been one of the top tier sci-fi horror franchises. Right? It could have been up there.
Without a doubt.
It easily could have been up there, rivaling the likes of Alien, right? Easily. And I'm speaking this as a sci-fi junkie, right? The problem is, because they basically poured so much into it and expected so much out of it far too quickly. Alien, for example, the whole Aliens franchise has taken decades to develop. And during those decades...
It's different medium, so it's, a bit different of an example, but...
Yeah, but you understand my point. You don't need to have a Dead Space movie straight away. You don't need an animated movie or an animated series. Maybe a couple of comic books here and there, but you don't need all the other stuff. Tell your stories through the medium of video games. That's what they're for.
But this is going to be done by Motive Studios, apparently, who did the Star Wars Squadrons game. And allegedly, they've been paying attention to what Resident Evil's been doing with Resident Evil 2 and 3. I believe it was them one of the ones we were referring to.
They were also co-developers on Battlefront 2 as well, the new version of Battlefront 2.
My thing here is, if this is just the rumour mill being the rumour mill, it's very cruel. If this is real, and it ends up being a thing, and it ends up breaking Dead Space, it's even more cruel.
But there is a third option, right? EA seem to be warming back up to the idea of character and story-driven single-player games. Single-player adventure experiences, especially with the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And with that being that was a massive success for them. It did a lot to restore, the Star Wars fans' faith in EA as a company.
I mean, I liked that game. It felt like a Star Wars game rather than just some old crap that they put a Star Wars skin on.
Exactly.
But this, I'm curious and sitting on tenterhooks, because this is a game where you either get it perfect and you bring back all the lapsed fans and us hardcore fans, or you absolutely kill any potential that series has to be anything ever again. Yeah.
The thing that has me thinking that this may be a true thing that they're looking at, and that it may be, and fingers crossed, I hope it does, because I do like Dead Space. I hope it does turn out to be better than we think. Several things that give me faith in that. Number one, the success of Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Yes.
Number two, the re-release of the Mass Effect collection.
Yes.
Right. But I think the fact that the new Dragon Age game is not going to be a live service game is also a factor in this.
Yeah, they're putting all of the sort of disgusting capitalist eggs in the FIFA basket.
Yeah, and removing them from the actual story-driven, character-driven, narrative adventure things. And I, for one, I'm down for that.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
I'm still hugely skeptical.
Skeptical, yes, but I am down for giving them a try. Speaking of expecting failure but hoping for success, Konami.
Go on.
I'm good with these segues today, aren't I?
Yeah, it's a miracle what sleep can do, but yeah, go on.
Konami has teamed up with Bloober Team, and they have announced that their partnership on a strategic cooperation agreement, it should be, on a new game, a new IP.
It is going to be Silent Hill, but nobody said Silent Hill.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say all of the rumors are saying Silent Hill. It's going to be a new Silent Hill, and Bloober Team doing it because the medium was basically Silent Hill. Let's be fair; it was heavily inspired by Silent Hill. Even Bloober Team admitted, "Look, we were inspired by Silent Hill."
Yeah, there's been a backlash against this because a lot of people believe that Bloober Team are a B-tier studio, and people who believe that have a very short memory about what happened to Silent Hill towards the end. I think towards the end it was done by C and D grade studios. So this is...
Yeah, I mean, what planet are these people living on? And obviously, if they don't remember the latter day Silent Hill games, you're not real Silent Hill fans if you never played them.
Wasn't there a few on the Wii, if I remember?
Yes, they were. Right, Silent Hill, if you never played stuff like Silent Hill Origins or Silent Hill Downpour or any of those games, then you're not a real fan.
Yeah. A B studio is an uptick, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
And only genuine classics, the first three, let's be honest. The rest were kind of just average at best.
Oh, yeah, I will also say, right, I know everyone talks about how good Silent Hill 2 is, with good reason, with good reason.
3 deserves more respect.
3 deserves a hell of a lot more respect, and The Room deserves a hell of a lot more respect, because The Room was such an interesting idea for a Silent Hill game, and for a horror game in general.
Yeah, I think Bloober could do something interesting with it, and I'm interested to see what they do with it, because all of the studios who basically dragged Silent Hill into the muck, not to point fingers, but they're all American studios, and Bloober Team are Polish, so they'll have a very different perspective to bring to it and lend to it.
Do you know what I would love to see is for them to go back to the original Silent Hill game, the very first one.
Well, I'd just like to see them do something that only they can do, bring a fresh perspective to it.
But that's the thing, I would love for them to go back to the original Silent Hill game and do a modern day remake of the original Silent Hill. Because that game, right, for me, that game is in many ways, for me, because that was the very first survival horror game I played before Resident Evil.
It's pretty much mine too. That's why I'll always have a huge soft spot for Silent Hill over Resi.
And I will say this, right? No other game since then has had killer ghost babies.
That was only in the demo, though.
No, it wasn't.
That bit in particular was only in the demo.
No, that was the demo that came with Metal Gear Solid.
No, but the reason why you bring up that bit that was only in the demo because no bit in a survival horror has ever messed me up quite as much as that bit in the Metal Gear Solid.
Hang on, did you play the exploration or did you play the survival mode?
All I remember is this bit where I was in an alley, I couldn't get out the alley, and then all the little killer babies started circling in on me, and
that was survival mode. That was survival mode.
And
you played the wrong mode.
Yeah,
you totally played the wrong mode. I looked at it and went, survival mode? No, I want to see what this is like. So I played the exploration bit, and that I could manage that because you're exploring the school and that.
But yeah, I'm just happy that Silent Hill is largely all but confirmed to be back. I don't care who's making it. I just care that someone's making it.
Yeah, absolutely.
End of the day.
Moving on to some quicker news stories. So, GTA 6, Rockstar have basically said that it's not going to be out until like 2025, and it will include an evolving map, whatever that means.
Like Fortnite was the example cited.
Fortnite's map evolves?
I don't know, I don't care. But this has pretty much killed any interest I have in GTA 6. if it's that unimportant to them that they're just going to funnel all of their cash into GTA Online, that's how little a new GTA, even though that's the GTA 1, 2, 3, whatever, it's basically what made that studio.
Well, I mean, I don't think that they're funneling all the cash into GTA Online. I think that, because, I mean, how long was it between GTA 4 and 5?
I don't know, but not 2, 3 generations.
No, it wasn't 2 or 3 generations. I think GTA 4 came out on the PlayStation 3.
Yes.
And GTA 5 came out on the PlayStation 4.
No, PlayStation 3.
Was it PlayStation 3 as well?
Yeah, towards the end.
Oh, yeah, it was towards the end. So GTA 5, yeah, that's a hell of a long time. I mean, GTA 6. GTA 5 came out, 6 years ago?
It came out, and that's basically the last year in the PlayStation 3, so I don't know what that would be. PlayStation 3 came out in 2013, 2014, so it's been at least 7 years.
Yeah.
And then they're saying it's going to be a further 5 years, so it's going to be, 13, 14 years between...
So, the only things that they could do, unless they do... options. There are options for what they can do. They've said GTA 6, right? But they haven't said any other GTA spin-offs. That's a thing that they haven't actually mentioned. And that's a thing that they've done in the past.
Bully 2.
Yeah, I mean, they might do Bully 2. But, what was it? They had, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, didn't they?
Yeah, but I'll be honest, Bully is my favourite Rockstar game, so if they do that, good.
They're in your good books again.
Yeah, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. But there are other things they could do. I think that possibly them not releasing GTA 6 until 2025 might not be a bad thing. Maybe they can make a better game from it, and maybe they can release other things in the meantime, in these intervening years.
If you have any ideas for what GTA or Rockstar could do in the interim, comment below. And while you're doing that, please do subscribe, like, and put on that notification bell because it helps us a great deal.
Moving on to, another kind of premature announcement. Oh, that just sounds horrible when I say it like that, doesn't it?
It's accurate, though, in this case.
These publishers are suffering from premature announcements. Bethesda's Todd Howard has said that Elder Scrolls 6 is still in the relatively early planning stages, and it's still some years away from release.
This is incredibly nasty and mean-spirited, even if he didn't mean it that way. Why? Yeah. Of all the fandoms in all the video games, Skyrim is one of the most consistent and enduring. And to tease...
I wouldn't say Skyrim, I'd say the Elder Scrolls fandom in general.
Skyrim being the most recent. And that you announced this years ago, and you weren't even thinking about making it at that point, is just so mean-spirited. So incredibly nasty and mean-spirited and not thinking about the fandom.
It's annoying more than anything else. So, but I was looking forward to the Elder Scrolls 6. When I saw the announcement, I thought, oh God, yes, absolutely. Only to find out, no. Telling us that it's good to think of Elder Scrolls 6 as still in a design phase, especially when you've released an official announcement teaser.
Yeah. It's basically announcing a trailer releasing a trailer like that. It's basically saying it's coming soon. It's coming soonish. We're working on it.
Yeah.
It's in progress.
Yeah.
And that was years ago.
It annoys me. It makes me angry. Anyway, we return to the lower middle class evil that is EA. And this time I'm allowed to say that because I used to work in this industry. So, I have a reason and a right to say it. EA and Hi-Rez have partnered together to bring forward in-game advertising and to create their own platform for in-game advertising. Now, Hi-Rez are backed by Tencent, and so EA effectively are working with Tencent to bring forward this platform called Player One. So, player, the word player, and then the word one, as in WON. And it's going to be owned by US TV advertising company Simul Media. It's designed to showcase video advertisements inside PC and console games.
Ew.
Yes. Now you see why I described them as lower middle class evil.
So you're going to get adverts for other games, you're going to get adverts for TV, you're going to get adverts for all sorts, much like they did with UFC and The Boys within your games on a wider scale, essentially.
I'm waiting for for when you're playing Call of Duty and there's an advert for Battlefield in there.
It's not going to happen like that. You're just being tacky. But end of the day, this is the sort of thing which annoys people and puts people off buying games. So this, by fluke, is probably the best thing that's ever going to happen to Konami and PES. Because people will be sick of the adverts, so they'll just get PES because there's none of the adverts in it.
Exactly. I didn't think of it like that, but that's exactly it. Wow.
I'm sick of these adverts in Battlefront or Battlefield. I'll just get COD. So they're accidentally driving people to the competition through sheer dumb greed.
Yeah. So interesting you say that, because there was a thing that you and I both agreed on, which had to do with Dreams.
Yes.
And that it was basically just sheer dumb greed that didn't allow that particular, well, I don't even want to call it a game. It's not a game.
It's misunderstanding of what it is. If that was released as a platform for creativeness and to be exported in whatever format you want, it would have basically changed the video game development industry overnight. So does a game, it kind of just blipped out of existence.
To be honest, I think Dreams was released on the wrong platform.
Should have been a PC thing.
If Dreams had come out on a PC or a Mac, right, it would have blown away all of the competition. Just the sheer scale of what you can do with that single program. The MediaMolecule have started making a new game in Dreams, and they want the gaming community the Dreams community to finish the game, which I think is an interesting idea.
It's a wonderful idea. I mean, it's about Mega Penguin, which is about a shredded penguin, which I'm already interested. They've done the first 3 levels, and they want everybody else to sort of do the rest.
Yeah. And what I like about this, it's called Mega Penguin Rehatched, and it's a sequel to the E3 2018 tech demo, where they invited friends and fans to invent new adventures for the titular character that were then recreated it within Dreams. And now, what I really like about this is MediaMolecule have always been good at connecting with their audience, with their fans.
Yes.
They've always been very, very good at that, and they've always been very receptive to what people say. And what I love about the fans of MediaMolecule as well is that almost to a man or woman, they all are very positive about MediaMolecule. And it's rare to see that in video games these days.
Yeah, but they're incredible. Yeah, honestly,
just the creativity in their dev team is just amazing.
Ingenuity and creativity in MediaMolecule is unparalleled in the video game industry, in my opinion.
Yeah. Speaking of ingenuity, do you know who we used to think were very ingenious and also very creative was CD Projekt Red?
Oh, but,
yeah. These days, not so much. I mean, have you seen the latest thing that they've come up with?
No.
It's called The Witcher Monster Slayer, and it's their attempt at a free-to-play mobile augmented reality game. It's set to launch on iOS and Android on the 21st of July, and it's basically copying Pokemon Go.
This is basically CD Projekt Red saying, remember Witcher 3, you love Witcher 3, we do the things you love, remember us, like us, please like us.
Are you saying CD Projekt Red have become the Tom Green of the video games industry?
Nah, that's not given enough credit, because Witcher 3 was incredible, but they are coming off a bit desperate now. Because they're basically crap the pants so hard with Cyberpunk.
With Cyberpunk, yes they did. So our final news story, and we kind of save this to last because Sony have been buying things again. Sony have been buying lots of things again.
Well, yes. 2 announced, 3 accidentally, oops, poo-poo, announced. They have announced that they've bought Housemarque, which I thought they were going to do a while ago. I did call that.
Yeah, you did call that.
It's a safe prediction, though, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Which gives that company in Finland the ability to be much more stable and grow and make bigger games, which, as a follower of them since when they were doing sort of Resogun and Dead Nation and this and that, that's just wonderful news. This is a studio that you appreciate and love, getting some stability.
Yeah.
Nixxes, Nixxes. Basically, it's a part studio who've worked with PlayStation going back to the release of Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah.
So they're adding sort of technical support and development support, which is always good to have them sort of studios in your bank. And the last one, which the PlayStation Twitter Japan accidentally leaked an image of Bluepoint Games have been acquired as well. And Bluepoint have kind of suggested that they're totally fully independent game studio in the kind of very nudge wink wink way in their social profiles. So basically PlayStation Twitter Japan cocked up and leaked something when they shouldn't. So that's going to be announced when it's going to be announced. It's pretty much yeah.
This is the thing. I mean, it seems to be a slip up from Sony Japan. The thing is, I read something slightly different about this, about the Bluepoint thing, was that where the slip up actually happened, what they were referring to was Nixxes, was Sony buying Nixxes rather than Bluepoint.
It's the actual image which is suggesting this.
Sony went and announced Nixxes, but yeah, Bluepoint I think is definitely on their hit list.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time if it hasn't already happened.
Yeah, there are a few companies that I'd say are on Sony's hit list, and see, I hate to say it, but I would honestly put Kojima's production company on there.
Eventually, the thing I like about Microsoft acquisition is we've got big meat in our pants and we're swinging it around. We're gonna, buy anybody. We've got so much money. Oh, this is £100 million doesn't mean anything to us at all. Bitty big bollocks, the very definition of it. That's fine. They're one of the biggest companies on the planet. People say Microsoft, then S is instead of MS, it's $, which is fine. They're a big company. They've earned that.
Yes.
So Bethesda makes sense for them. But Sony are much more patient. They allow companies to basically find out who they are and develop working relationships with them, like they did with Insomniac, like they did with Housemarque, and they just buy them when the time is right. They foster working relationships. Both are fine, but both are from two very different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it's okay to work in different ways. The idea that Sony should buy this, buy that, buy the other, buy Capcom, buy Square Enix, buy Kojima Productions. No, they're by people who fit what Sony are.
The reason I suggested Kojima Productions is because Sony have a long history with Kojima. Kojima signing a distribution deal with Microsoft would be a slap in the face for Sony, which I don't think they'd stand for.
Not really, because Insomniac made Sunset Overdrive for Xbox and they were still bought.
Yeah, I know, they were still bought. What I'm saying is Kojima, in terms of reputation, I don't think Insomniac have the same reputation as Kojima.
Maybe not, but the thing about Kojima is he thinks he's an artist. When he's basically just writing fan service with big boobs all over the place and nonsense that makes no sense even in Japanese. So it's not like a bad translation. He just doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's good. It's good for these companies.
Yes, it is good for these companies. We'll see. We'll see who else is on Sony's hit list. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the last of other developers being bought by Microsoft either.
Just to close this, there's a comment that was made in an interview recently with Herman Hulst where he says, is this the start of a sort of a turf war between Microsoft and Sony of buying up all of these studios and basically getting rid of a lot of the independent marketplace for games? There's no such thing. And I think that's true. I don't think Sony and Microsoft are just going to buy everybody, but I don't think either of them are finished.
Yeah, I don't think either of them are finished.
Yeah, that's all we have time for this week. So if you like what we do, you can join our Patreon where we have exclusive content, including exclusive podcast, Doctor Who articles, and extra episode of Pop Screen, our music movie podcast. But also please do like, subscribe, comment, notification, the bell notification, because that does help us a great deal. But until next time, where me and Rob will be back with more news and probably more trash too. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye.